With this, I'm going to introduce my dear friend and official partner of SRF, Dr. J.P. Go.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. I will talk fast here, and I have a ton of slides, so I'm going to try to fly through this. I'm J. Pathmanathan, Beacon Biosignals. If you are not my patient or a student of mine, which none of you are, you can call me Jay, please. I do work for Beacon. It's a private company, of course. I have shares, so don't believe anything I say. All right, I'm going to be talking about this study. You've heard a little bit about it before. It has evolved. This is I'm very excited about this study. This has been a study in progress for years, and I really want to thank SRF. This was it would have been impossible without SRF. And then I can't actually name the pharma companies yet because we didn't get permission, but you will soon learn the pharma companies that are funding this. But actually, I'm not going to tell you much about the study itself. Grab me, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but grab me at any point during this conference. Dinner tonight, I'll be there. What I really want to do is tell you why this study is important. So stop me if you've heard these. More EEG won't be helpful. Oh yeah, there you go. Somebody said, yeah, I've heard that before. Okay. The EEG results were indeterminate. Yeah, there you go. A bunch of hands. All right. The EEG didn't show anything. We didn't see anything. Yeah, I know we got a lot of hands. Okay. All right. There was a lot of seizures, spikes, slowing, something bad, but there's nothing to do. Okay. Yeah, neurologists are just the worst, right? Yeah, I'm an epileptologist, and these are all real quotes from me to my patients, so don't blame your doctors, okay? They're only human. You would think, and I think this is actually true, there's some pathology in the system. Maybe you had a stroke. Maybe you have a protein abnormality. Maybe you have a mutation in the SYNGAP1 gene, right? And that's going to cause some symptoms. And you, as family members, are seeing those symptoms. Okay, there's seizures, there's behavior problems, there's sleep disorders, right? You're seeing that stuff. So if EEG is a monitor of the brain, why can't we glean information from the EEG that tells us about all the things that you're seeing, right? And we should be able to do that, but there's this block, there's this problem. Obtaining EEG, number one, is very difficult. It's difficult for doctors. I have a really hard time getting insurance approvals, getting the lab. There's a backup in my lab. It's tough to get EEG from my end. It's really hard for you guys. You got to drag your kid in. There's the technologist going to scrub your kid's head. It's painful. It's not invasive, but it's not a comfortable test, right? And then you got these wires on you for some amount of time, right? And really, a 20-minute awake EEG is not that useful. Right? So you may be wearing those wires for a couple of days. You know this. You've lived this. So we don't have a good EEG biomarker of many diseases. I'd say there's one, Angelman's syndrome, but certainly not SYNGAP. Okay. And Sean Egan from the SCN2A Foundation had this great quote, and unfortunately I think it's true. He said that DEE parents, all of you guys, unfortunately have to become amateur neurologists, amateur epileptologists. Yeah, you shaking your head. Yeah, you know it, right? You learn the lingo, you learn all this stuff. I don't know if people show you EEG, so I'm going to show you a little bit of EEG. Okay, so this is the EEG of a neurotypical 3-year-old. I'm not going to go through a lot of the specific things, but you can see there's a box that says PDR. That's what we want to see. All right, and we want to see that the bottom row of each of those set of lines has little squiggles like that, okay? And then I want to see that the waviness essentially looks about like this. That is super vague, right? That is a terrible description. What I can really tell you is I spent 2.5 years just looking at EEGs, getting berated by this old epileptologist who said, no, you're doing it wrong. Until one day he said, yeah, I think you got it. I don't know how to look at an EEG. I can't describe it, but I know what I'm seeing, right? That's not really a good way. I can look at this, though, and you can probably see the difference. This is very not good. I think you can appreciate there's a substantial difference here. This EEG is a lot slower. The waves are bigger. That's not good. And I've highlighted here an epileptiform discharge, a spike, right? This is the thing on your report. That red thing is the thing that you see on your report. Okay, so that is bad. All right? And this is actually this is not a good quality picture, but the paper is great. This is from a recent paper this year on a series of patients with SYNGAP. Okay, so here you can see red arrows on an EEG. That's never a good sign. Those red arrows point to a specific feature found in the Syngap EEG, which is spikes in the back of the head. Okay, and then that blue box, you don't want to see blue boxes on an EEG. Those are big, big spikes. Those are big discharges. Those are things you would see on an EEG of someone with Syngap. Okay, so putting those together, here's my question. Okay, those are abnormal. How bad are they? Right? And you know what the answer is. The report comes back and it says abnormal, or maybe mildly abnormal, or moderately abnormal. That's useless, right? You need a number, and no one's ever going to give you a number. How bad is this? I don't know. It's moderately abnormal. That's not very valuable. Well, even if I could count every single spike there, how long do you think that would take me? And I did a back-of-the-envelope calculation, and when I was at Penn, I had to look at 90,000 of those pages a day. How much effort do you think I'm putting into every single page on your kid's EEG? I'm putting as much as I can in, but it's not enough, right? Humans can't do this. That's the bottom line, okay? So today, we can use EEG for the initial diagnosis. Yeah, there are spikes, there are seizures, you need to be on a medicine. We can generally say things like, there aren't events on the EEG, maybe we can cut back on medicine. You think things are good, we're going to look for seizures you don't know about. That generally works, but we really can't use the EEG right now to quantify abnormalities. Theoretically and in the research lab we can, but clinically we do not do things like quantify the exact amount of slowing. We don't quantify the number of spikes. We don't do things like tell you, hey, this medication is really working for your kid, right? We should be able to do that, but we really can't. And I know Ingo is working on this, and he's got some great progress, but it's not clinically available yet. And the thing that we really need is, what's your prognosis? I'm going to take a look at this EEG, and I'm going to tell you from this EEG what's going to happen 5 years from now. And we need that because we're on the verge of getting therapies that really matter, really work. And when that happens, you don't want to have to take this therapy and then wait a bunch of years to see if it worked, right? You want to know quickly. And we need this. And by the way, that information is in the EEG. I can look at that EEG I showed you before, and I can look at that and tell you, this is bad. That EEG is bad, right? But I probably don't write that in the report. I know internally that that's not good, but I don't write that down, and I don't necessarily tell you. So there are ways to extract that information. I'm not going to go into that. Magical, artificial intelligence, hand-waving, that's the smart side of Beacon. That's what they do, right? And these are some algorithms that we at Beacon have. Others have. There's a lot of algorithms out there, okay? That's not what this study is about. But it is possible to take EEG and to find the spikes. That second row is epileptiform discharges. Then there's obviously seizures. And then we don't want to see that last row, which is nonstop seizures. The beauty of machine learning, though, is 90,000 pages of EEG can do that in any amount of time you want. Throw graphics cards at it. You can get this done in 10 seconds if you wanted to, right? That's the beauty of computation. Okay, all right. Shoot, this is a slide I really wanted you to see, but oh, there we go. You can kind of see it in the background there. This is a slide that used data from Citizen. I can't emphasize how amazing Citizen is. You heard this from Nasha. I don't know if you appreciate how much of a heavy lift what Citizen does is. It's just actually absolutely incredible to me as a physician. But when you take that type of data, all of that data that is really hard to capture, and you put it together with quantitative EEG, you can generate a figure like this. And the reason this figure is absolutely incredible to me is this is SCN2A, and I want this figure for Syngap. If you look at this figure, there's two types of mutations. One where you don't have enough of this protein, and one where you have essentially too much, okay? In that top one, that reddish one, is where you don't have enough. And so the amount of spikes, which is what that bottom axis is, if you have more and more spikes, it doesn't matter. A child with that top mutation is going to do poorly, unfortunately. But a child in that purple line, the more spikes they have, the worse off their development is going to be a couple of years from now. Okay? What that tells me is I can tell you at age 1 what's going to happen a couple of years from now. That's amazing, right? But the thing that I really want is to see if, hey, let's put an extra seizure medicine on that kid. Let's do something. Let's push the spikes down, right? If it's a gain of function, if it's that bottom line. and drive the number of spikes down, maybe that kid will have a better outcome. That's what we need, right? That's really what we need. And in SCN2A, this is very brand new. We don't know if this will work, but at least it's something, right? We need that graph in Syngap. Don't we already know a lot about the EEG in Syngap? We do, but we don't have any biomarkers. This is from that recent study I alluded to earlier. We know that sleep architecture is very disturbed in Syngap, and we know the age distribution of that. We know that there are discharges in unusual locations in the back of the head. That's not very common. It's not unheard of, but it's not very common. And we know that there are these unusual patterns, these fast patterns that occur in Syngap. But none of these findings individually in this small study were able to be used to predict outcomes. I think that they could be, but we need more data. We don't have that data. And this is an excellent study, but it's still not enough data. Okay, so the problem is that data, right? We need EEG, not just when your kid is sick, right? You go to see your doctor, things aren't going well, they say, let's get an EEG. That's helpful, but that's not what we want. We want EEG all the time. We want it when your kid is doing well. We want EEG when your kid is asleep, when they're awake. And those aren't things that are generally acquirable, because EEG is a big pain, right? And then we need the infrastructure to do that machine learning. We need to be able to collect the EEG. That's the hard part right now. And then we need more patient time points. And you guys are working on that. You guys are committed to research. And that's great. That's actually okay. I don't think I need these slides up right now. What you don't see is there's a slide about what Beacon does. It's not very important right now. Basically, I was going to tell you that Beacon does the machine learning. Yeah, we have the engineers. We have the architecture to do all of that complex machine learning stuff. But the thing what we want to do in this study is add this. Okay, you can just look at the headband. All right. So this headband is really cool. I'm very excited about it. It has 4 EEG electrodes embedded in it. And it is FDA cleared for adults. Now we're going to be using it in kids. Anyone with Syngap age 8 and over, that's going to be the bottom line. This is an EEG headband. So you've all gone through EEGs. You know how much of a pain they are. Watch this. Okay, is the blue light on? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Green light? I'm recording EEG. Now, I am a trained professional, of course, but I think you guys can do this in about 30 seconds. I did it in about 3. You can do it in 30 seconds. So that's what we want to do. We want to see if kids with Syngap will wear this. We want to see if you, as caregivers, can operate this. And then we want to see what that data can be used for. Okay, now, there are some trade-offs here. There's only 4 channels. Okay, that's not necessarily going to be enough for everything. But the EEG is the same as clinical EEG. It's the same quantity of data. You can do the spectral analysis. We can do spike detection. We can do seizure detection. And the headband does automated sleep staging. So I can tell you things like, this is how much REM sleep there is. This is the amount of delta power and slow wave sleep. All those fancy statistics, we can do that off of this data. And it's automated. I'm actually gonna skip this. I'm gonna tell you a slide. This is just a schematic of the study. Basically, we're gonna have you operate this device if you're interested. 5 nights, take some surveys after each night, take the weekend off, and then another 5 nights. That's the basic summary. It's pretty straightforward. And I'll tell you a lot more about the study if you grab me later. I just want to point out that the beauty of this headband is it fits the abnormalities seen in Syngap perfectly. We have coverage of the back part of the brain. We have coverage of the front part of the brain. The areas where we see abnormalities in Syngap, this headband can work for, so we're very excited about the possibilities here. And sleep. This does automated sleep staging. And it's much, much better than your Oura Ring or your iWatch. We need 24 to 30 participants. The exact number isn't ironed out, but that's going to be the ballpark. It's currently ages 8 and up. I might drop that to 5 and up. Stay tuned. Pretty basic. You need an Android phone or an Apple phone. And if you don't have one of those two, if you're still using like a BlackBerry or a Palm Pilot, talk to me because you got to upgrade. So your Syngapian, your loved one who has Syngap, needs to either have 2 seizures per week or developmental delay. that probably covers everyone, so I think everyone will be eligible. Really the hard part, there's a couple of more exclusion criteria. The biggest one, unfortunately, and this is because of our IRB, you have to be in the U.S. You don't have to be a citizen, you don't have to be anything else, but you have to be in the U.S. when you're operating the device. And that's just due to our current IRB. I may see if we can change that, but right now you have to be in the U.S. And you can't plan for a hospitalization, so you can't plan for an epilepsy monitoring stay during the course of the 2-week study. Again, this is not a drug study. It's really basic informed consent. You get the headband, the training materials. We'll send it. You don't have to come anywhere. We'll send it all to you. It's all done remotely. The informed consent is right online. Phone call with me to just discuss everything, and we'll send it to you. The surveys are just, they're Google surveys. It's really easy. 5 nights, 2 nights off, 5 nights. And if your loved one can't wear it, that's okay. That's okay. We just try to get them to wear it. That's what we're trying to see. We want to see if kids with Syngap will wear this. There's no cost to you. There is some effort. You got to try to get your kid to wear it. Every night you try to get your kid to wear it, you get money. If you answer a survey, you get money. You can get up to $200 for your participation. I wish it was more, but that's kind of all we could afford. We actually know that it's doable. This is a child with Syngap. I won't tell you who it is, although many of you will recognize. And it worked great. In fact, Syngap is going to be the first monogenetic disease we're going to study, but we did this in LGS, and multiple Syngapians participated in that study. We got great data. Actually, let me show it to you. So this is a neurotypical child's EEG. It's zoomed in, so it doesn't look like what I showed you before, but take my word for it. All the features that I want to see are there. This is Syngap. This is actually a seizure we recorded in Syngap, not the participant you saw earlier, someone else. Those little waves in the middle there, those are the characteristic feature of Angelman syndrome. So we did this in Angelman syndrome. So we can characterize epileptic abnormalities. And this is the fast activity that's characteristic of LGS. So we can actually identify seizures, spikes, and fast activity. We can do spectral analysis. So we think we can really contribute to biomarkers using this headband. That's really the end goal. As I mentioned, we did this in LGS. It worked really well. I have no reason to believe that it can't be done in Syngap. I won't go through all these slides. I think that really you don't need technical expertise to do this. It's really pretty straightforward. You do need that phone. You need to download an app. It's pretty straightforward. But if you can download an app, you can operate this headband. And I can't tell you who's sponsoring it yet, but we do have sponsorship, so it is happening. I want to start this up in January. So if you're interested, come grab me, send me an email. It's really straightforward. Just actually go ahead and take a picture of that. I'm going to be outside for the rest of the day, and I'm going to come to dinner. And if I'm not outside, I'm going to leave a stack of my cards, so feel free to email me. But I really hope you guys will be interested and participate. And definitely sign up for Citizen and RareX.